Good morning, everyone. It is really a great pleasure for me to get this opportunity to come and share my experience, but also share an experience in terms of how best can individuals access the funds from the FoodBev SETA. I must really say that, sometimes you might be here and maybe you are not inspired. But if so, really, since yesterday, I'm more rejuvenated. I'm really inspired, and I have learned a lot. So I hope each and every one of us who's here, you would have learned something, and in one way or another, you will start to do some of the things differently. So I'm going to take you through the FoodBev SETA processes. But even before that, have you noticed that each and every element of what we are about here, it requires one to have skills. And each and every element for it to be successful of what we are here about and what we intend to do into the future, it also requires some competency. And I'm so inspired that from the speakers, I've learned that also in life, things will not readily just be available the way you would like them to be. Having listened to Leto, for instance, in life, you will always face some challenges. And in one way or another, you will have to juggle around and make sure that you reach your goals. I never thought at the beginning of my journey personally, because in my other life, initially in my skills development, I started as an artisan, apprentice welder. So that's where it all started. Can you ever imagine Anthony Troy in the past, some 20, 30 years back, when you were to be a welder, that you could think of a welder being in front of people, talking to them like I'm doing? Because, welding, it was like something, when I started it about my career at ISCO, it used to be, at that stage, I even used to excel more in Afrikaans than English. Because it took me some time, you won't believe it took me some time to know that I was an apprentice. I know myself as an vakleerling. You get what I'm saying? Just to give you a background, to say, in life, some of the things are the challenges, you face challenges, but they prepare you to be a better person. So that's just to say that, colleagues, as we go along our journey, before I just give you how to, in terms of our models, please just know that there will always be some hiccups along the way. Things will not always be easy. And I was so impressed, actually, Patricia yesterday when she talked about the importance of beer, when he talked about the percentage it contribute into the economy. And just one thing before I even start, talking about that element of being responsible in this sector of beer. And it just confirmed something. In 2012, I was in Germany, and we visit some plants, Volkswagen and Mercedes-Benz. Believe me or not, during lunch, their lunch, normally at work, they will share them with a beer. Whereas here, I can assure you, even with these companies that are doing beer, if you can be found smelling beer, you are gone. you get that sense, the way we take things maybe in South Africa. There's a lot of changes that I think, but that is because maybe there's that lack of responsibility in whatever we are doing. Maybe that if you can give us just opportunity, we will drink a dozen of bottle of beers just during lunch. Maybe there's that fear. Maybe. Okay, thanks. That's what. And I'm also impressed by the previous speakers. When Leto was presenting, came here, do the presentation. Some of us like just to be so formal and whatever. Colleagues, if I don't talk to this presentation, I've done it so that you can see that I've prepared anyway. So don't worry about it. I take you serious. So you shouldn't worry about it much. So what is happening, the areas, these are the areas which I'll be talking about, but I'll not be putting much emphasis. If these slides will be shared with you, I know you are literate, you'll be able to see and make sense of what is in the slides. But nonetheless, I'll be talking at high level and emphasizing some of the other areas which are more relevant to you, of course. So as a SETA, we are governed by legislations. The first one on the left-hand side is just about how SETAs are constituted and what is their role. And the second one is about how do we get money as SETAs in terms of the skills development levies. And the third one on the right-hand side is just about how that money gets distributed. Unfortunately, what I'm going to talk about, it's more rule-orientated. You know, some of the rules, unfortunately, as you know, South Africa is more policy-oriented. Some of the rules, they might even be more tight in terms of accessing other things. So that's what it's all about, the three slides that you are seeing there. So in terms of, at high level, our functions as a SETA is to make sure that we establish learning programs. Secondly, we are approving workplace skills plans and annual training plans. Those ones are more for the companies. And then thirdly, we allocate grants in the prescribed manner and in accordance with the prescribed standards and criteria, like I've said once more. Unfortunately, I might want to give you funding at any given point in time, but it must follow a certain standards and criteria as in terms of the PFMA and so forth. So that is how these rules are being implemented. And identifying workplace for practical work experience. This is an important component. And dear students in particular, please, sometimes if it means that we need to volunteer some of our services, let us do so as long as we know what is it that we want to achieve in life. And in that case, as a SETA, we'll always make sure that as and whenever there are these workplaces, we'll go and check them whether they are suitable to provide you with the necessary experience. And we register agreements for learning programs. That is, once you have been allocated, then we'll go through the process of registering you so that we can make the necessary reporting. The SETA grant regulations at high level, we need to approve on a yearly basis and review the policy in line with the discretionary grants, so that we make sure that whatever we do, there should be an element of transparency, openness, and access. You know, systems are such that within the FoodBev SETA, let's say it doesn't matter that I like Olga, but the way systems are, I can tell you if Olga did not follow the right procedures in terms of application and so forth, her or his application will not even reach me at some stage because there are different committees that will be involved. So I'm just here even to encourage that we need to start and make sure that we do things in a correct way. So within that DG policy, we've got the mechanisms for SETA member organizations, how in terms of how they should access a discretionary grant. And we also have the programs and the guidelines which are more specific to the public, the higher education institutions like the universities and universities of technology. So we do have those in terms of providing that guidance. So at high level, very quick, in terms of the money, the levies that are being generated, out of 100% of the levies, 20% it will go to the National Skills Fund, and the 10.5%, that's why I'm here, it pays my salary, it pays my flights, it pays everything, it's administrative, and the 20%, it is geared back to the companies so that they can decide how they want to utilize it in line with skills development. And the bulk of the money, which is the core of it, about 49.5%, it goes to the discretionary grants, which are the elements that I'm going to quickly highlight, the model and how it gets distributed back to you. Then in terms of the discretionary grant funding model, and what I've done here intentionally, I did not go into the details of other programs, but I've just want to talk about the programs that are relevant to the students at the universities and universities of technology, because that's our audience in the main here. So firstly, it's important that we've got the bursaries within the SETA, bursaries that cover for research and innovation. Here, colleagues, we are talking about bursaries which are in the main, not any other bursary, but intended for a research. That is students who are doing masters as well as students who are doing their PhD. But very important, and I'm happy that I can openly say it because I know that the candidates who are here, I think they will fit into this category. Why? Because we also don't offer bursaries to masters. Remember, each and every SETA has got its own sector. So having listened to the topics and beer manufacturing and so forth, if you want to follow that route into masters and research, this is a relevant opportunity because your research will be relevant to our sector. But if you want to do research in theology, no, please, not FoodBev, somewhere else. You get what I'm trying to say. So those are some of things that are really keen and important. And really, we are, I normally tell people, and I know I've seen one of our stakeholders, Edwin from VU team. Sometimes it will appear that SETAs, or let's say, I'll not say SETAs, FoodBev does not want to allocate and issue the grants. It is not the case. One thing that I can say, I'm passionate about what I'm doing, but one of my tasks is to, I'm in this sector where I am now, and my role, my responsibility is to spend money, is not to save money. I'm not in the business of saving money, I'm in the business of spending money. Actually, I get punished for not spending money. But the unfortunate part of it is that money, I must spend it responsibly. Just like somebody, when you take your beer, you must take it responsibly. So whenever I'm to distribute, provide grants, it must be in a very responsible way, in line with the rules which has been set up. So this slide, I think it's critical for you. Particularly now I'm talking about if you want to pursue masters as well as your PhD studies. So it outlines, for instance, and with regard to the PhD, it's you must have registered already and having being accepted, your proposal being accepted. And it must be the proposal or your topic must be in line with the FoodBev sector. Is either, or if not, at least it must be in the value chain. Let's say, remember, there's a relationship between the sector in agriculture as well as FoodBev. You get my point. So at least it must be in that value chain because those we read very thoroughly. You know, just like your at university, they'll be reading your proposals. I'll read them, try to make sense. Where will it fit into the sector? Otherwise, your Heineken, your SABs, all the sector, they'll ask me, but you funded this today. What is the relevance in our sector, this one? Is it relevant? So those are the things. We look into them very thoroughly. So it is important, and also the other thing, the reason that for PhD you must have been accepted and your proposals being accepted. Maybe you might be an element like me. I've now attempted it and for the third time, my PhD, and I've not given up. I've just packed it for a little while. I'm gonna still take it again. So it's for those reasons. We cannot commit money, then ultimately, then you are like just like me. Because I'm talking of something that I've started 5 years ago, and there's nothing wrong with sometimes work environment, and I'm a family man, and I pack it, whatever. No, I'm still going to finish it. Just be patient with me. So, but in terms of funding, obviously we cannot fund you, then you don't continue. You get me? You must have been first accepted. Then the other part, obviously, with the TVET, and in this case, an HET, those for the undergraduates. Also, we've got what we call the sector skills plan, and we've got the critical and scarce skills within the FoodBev sector. So whatever you are doing, it must be in this area. So those are the areas that we cover. We cover 100%, and I've indicated, like in the previous one, is for masters is 120, for PhD is 150. In this case, we cover 100%. But remember, there are different elements. Other students, they are using the accommodation at the university. Others, they are outside. So in terms of how we do it, it's slightly different. But we do make provision for those. This one, TVET placement, not to say I'm not interested. I'm a product of it. But for the sake of this audience, I might not, maybe just slightly jump it, not go into its details. Here's another element. For some reason, my slide is not showing 100% everything here, but I know what's in there. So the other part, it regards to the internship as well as work experience graduates. Guys, please, I wish I was addressing everybody when coming to this one. In our sector, when we talk of an internship, these are in line with the workplace-based learning programs regulation in terms of the way the regulation defines it. We follow that route. So more often than not, when we talk of internship, sometimes we just talk of maybe having completed gaining experience. Please get me very clear on this one. In our space, when we talk of internship, this refers in the main to the University of Technology, wherein we used to call it, you still call it double P1 and P2 in those days, whatever. Ne? Yeah, for artisans, it will be those who have got their N4, N5, and then they need for them to get a diploma, they must get that experience, which is a route that I followed some years back. So in our case, internship in line with what the way it's described in the workplace learning programs regulations, that's what it means. Then we've got a work experience for graduates. This is about those who have completed, they've got their qualification, they've graduated, but they need experience. So I know the reason I'm emphasizing this, in other cities it might be interpreted slightly different, where one thing that, so most of the applications that we receive, you will find out that they identify a qualification under workplace experience graduate, but when you look at that qualification, actually this person is requiring internship in our interpretation so that the person gets the qualification. So please, internship will be, you don't have a qualification. You need that practical workplace experience to sign your modules and so forth, then you become qualified. That's internship. Workplace experience graduates, you are already qualified from the university, so you need to be placed at the company. So this is other things that, and the last one is candidacy. We also receive a lot of people applying for candidacy, and when you look at it, this is not a requirement in terms of to register with the Engineering Council or to register with SETA and so forth. So candidacy is about being registered for gaining recognition into that profession. So those are some of the things. So those are the amounts which are, I know I'm trying to review, and we are in the process, maybe in the next financial year, I'm trying my best that those allocations should be uplifted. I know they've been stuck there for the past 3, 4, 5 years, so we are trying to review them. Thank you. I'm almost done. So now we've got the eligibility for discretionary grants. Just important, you are eligible. You are in that first block of public education and training institutions. Then government institutions and so forth, they also qualify. Just to seal that one, there are different processes. The applications will go through compliance, then it goes through evaluation. It hasn't reached me by that time. Then, MENA, I'm chairing that adjudication committee. So you might give me cold drink and whatever today, nice tasting, but your application, if it does not meet the requirement, it might not come up to that level of adjudication. Then the next part is the award committee. So that's how just the games, but trying to make sure that everything is within the rules. So these are the responsibilities to say the grant recipient in terms of what you must do, what is the responsibility of the SETA, and what is our responsibility and your responsibility as an applicant. Quickly, for the students, normally the slide will not, but now I'm specifically talking to the students. Contact the relevant office in your institution for assistance with applying for FoodBev SETA funding. Why? We do not normally encourage direct application with us because it's difficult for us to manage you as a student, but if we manage you through your university, then we can hold them accountable in terms of monitoring your progress as you go along. You get what I'm saying? But once we can just directly link with you, it will be a problem because we'll not know whether you attend classes and so forth, whether your modules are being signed. So we normally direct, we prefer that you liaise with your institution. Submit all documentation required for the application on time. This is another thing I know from the experience Edwin will see. So things like the ID was not clearly visible, you did not certify your highest qualification. unfortunately, it's a simple thing for you, which does not count, but it's a serious thing for me in terms of the audits. You see, and this also affects things like the SETA is taking long time to pay this. You get what I'm saying? Yes, a SETA can take anything between two weeks and 4 months to pay, depending if the documents are all are correct and they are there. So it is a two-way thing. Sometimes that the SETA, yes, my officials might delay, but sometimes it's because of the documentation, which is not the way it should be. Then once approved, then we will all start to contract and make sure that everything is fine. So these are the contact details of the team. Preferably, don't contact me unless you have contact the managers. No, really, it's more operational otherwise. But I've got the 3 managers that I've listed there. They are dealing with your anything. Then unless there's a problem, then it can come to me. But other than that, I think I've given you, I hope it will be shared with you, and I hope to share with you in some other platforms some other days. But nonetheless, we as a SETA, we are there because you are. Without you, we couldn't. We can't do anything. I thank you. I don't know if there's any question.
Okay, we've got 2 questions if you don't mind. Let's just keep it to 2 if you don't mind.
Hi, thank you for the very informative presentation. I was gonna ask like straightforward questions, but then you kept on answering some of them along the way. But a question that I want to have now is that, is there any kind of like funding or a framework that pretty much teaches someone who applies something that is outside of being a student? Maybe somehow, maybe like trying to do a startup, maybe let's just say, for example, a startup company in a very small, marginalized town to pretty much increase the economy there and stuff like that. Are there any things like that?
Thank you. Outside this, maybe my slide was more focused on pure for students. We've got also the partnerships that we enter. We've got strategic projects. And amongst the strategic projects, we do have projects that will support, like for example, the SMEs. But those we don't apply through the normal learning program. You apply either as an SME because it's either you want to get a skill or you want to be assisted in your specific, like the likes, let's say Letu. Ne? He's got that. Remember, Letu was talking about the other skill that he needed to get from someone else in terms of business marketing. You get me? If you are registered as you've got your registered SME, you need that skill of marketing and you want to be supported, yes, but it does not come through this route. We also open a window in terms of the partnerships project or strategic projects in line to support the sectors, the SMEs in our sector.
Okay, thank you.
So, and yeah, we'll be opening, our DG funding window will be opening in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and please be on alert and then look into those. And we will also be opening before the end of the year for implementation into the next financial year, the strategic partnerships projects.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I just want to know, are you only focusing on the FoodBev or the other discipline? Like, I'm running a wheel whereby I don't have the grant and is not from the food science discipline. So can I also put my application?
No. Like I've said, we have 21 SETAs, and each SETA is linked to its subsector. We've got the manufacturing SETA, as in MER SETA. You've got your local government. Like I was saying, hence I made that example to say, if you want to apply for theology, you are at the wrong place at FoodBev SETA. I was just citing it was for those reasons. We've got different sectors, and they cover their different. So we cannot move into someone's territory.
So, but other other discipline that are parallel, like chemical engineering, you'll find it in the food science, but you also have a SETA of chemical. But can I also apply in your SETA?
Okay. let me make good example. Let's say you are in chemical, but in terms of what you want to pursue is you want to use that skill in chemical in terms of pursuing your example, your SME in brewing of beer, then you are relevant to us. You get where I'm going. But if you want to study chemical engineering, what, you are more into SETA. Thanks for listening to me, and I hope we'll make a difference going forward. Thank you.